Welcome everyone to the Quick Tips webinar on SmartCAM viewing options and tools. My name is Hugh Caldwell. I'm the Vice President of Sales and Marketing. And with me I have Casey Baker, who's the SmartCAM Training Manager. Our next webinar is going to be in about a month, and we will send you an invitation the week before that webinar will commence. Your microphones are muted. If you have a question to ask, please use the little cartoon balloon button on the Join Me icon bar. Ask it that way, and we'll get to as many questions at the end as we can. And like I said, this is going to be about a 30-minute total webinar. So why are we doing this webinar? Well, about 10 years ago, we added several display and viewing features that we think are extremely useful in your day-to-day use of SmartCAM. But in our interactions with users and Casey's interactions with trainees, we've found that many, if not most, are not aware of these viewing tools and therefore are not getting the maximum potential out of using them, especially in combination. So the benefit really of knowing how to use these tools is it makes it so much easier to interact with your SmartCAM model when you use a combination of different display tools and selection tools. So that simplifies the management of your SmartCAM model, your graphics display. It'll impact your toolpath verification if you want it to, and you can add it to report writing, and really just any general daily use of SmartCAM. So that's why we picked the topic of the viewing tools. Casey Baker is our training manager. As I said, he has over 3 decades experience training users on SmartCAM. He's the man. If you need or want in-depth training, either here at our location in Oregon or online, Casey is the person you want to do. And if you're interested, contact Casey or your account manager, and they'll take that, get you the information you need. And with that, I'll turn over the demo portion to Casey.
Okay, we're going to be talking about different methods of affecting how geometry is displayed in both the graphics view and also the list view. We'll be reviewing the capabilities of mask, unmask, show, hide, view filters, and naming views. Start with mask, unmask. Mask unmask works on an entire step, layer, or work plane and will take out of play the elements that are masked. What that means is if you have masked elements, they will no longer be available for verification, show path or show cut, or in code. Most people access mask either by utility pull-down menu, utility mask menu, or the toolbar icon. Here's utility mask, and then this icon right here brings up the mask unmask. Some people aren't aware that the Control F1 also, and I'm going to do that right now, Control F1 brings up the mask unmask, and also the right mouse button. If you are in the graphics view or list view, which I'll do here, you can see I'm moving on to the roughing toolpath. I'll right mouse, go to element and mask unmask, and you see I've just masked the step 20 roughing passes. Now also in the list view, if I were to go right button and mask unmask, you can see I've masked the layer 3 elements from the view. Another thing that I've seen people not noticing is we can also mask by Z level. I'll go Control F1, And you can see on the right side, mask above or below. So if I type in -0.1, enter, it masked anything that was above -0.1. And you'll notice the roughing passes are masked. That's because they are container and some of the elements are above are above -0.1. So I'm going to move on to hide. Incidentally, we have been having some internet problems. So if for some reason, if everything goes blank, we will resume somehow, or at least you'll have the recording available at some point. So moving back to hide. Hide works on a group of elements. Any set of elements in the graphics view or the list view. And they are also still in play for verification and coding. So that's one difference between mask and unmask, is that they are available for code and show path. Hide can be controlled by the group menu, group icon bar right down here. You can the last four icons are hide selected, show hidden, hide unselected, and invert visibility. And I'll be using some of these just to demonstrate how they are used. So I'm going to group the inner roughing profile, and I'll hit the hide selected button. And then I'm going to group the face cut and hit the hide selected button again. You can do that multiple times. Then I'll hit the show hidden and bring them back. I'm going to group the rough cuts and the finish interior cut, and I'll hit hide unselected. And what that does is it hides everything that's not part of your group. I'll bring them back. I'll clear out the group, and I'm going to group by the group step 20 and step 30 and hide unselected. So again, we just deleted, or didn't delete, we removed from the view, from the graphics view, the elements that were unselected. Okay, I'm going to turn those on. Now, if I were to group the profile that is the interior roughing, and I click on hide unselected, and I realize that I wanted the outside toolpath also, I can click on invert visibility. I'll group the second part of that step 20 roughing. Then I'll click on hide selected and then invert visibility again. And so what I got was all of these step 20 elements, the inside and the outside, using a combination of show selected, show unselected, and invert visibility. And I'll bring those all back. Okay, I want to move on to view filters. You can go to the filters by the view pull down and view filters, and you see over here I can click on graphics view, list view, or both. Now, what I normally do is I'll click in the list view, right mouse button, view filters. It comes up, the list view is the default. And then likewise, if I right mouse button in the graphics view, view filters, the graphics view is the default. So I'll show you a couple scenarios of using view filters. In this case, I'm going to change it to view. I'm going to turn surfaces off and accept. Now notice the elements list, origin, element 1, all of the surfaces were elements 1 through 70, and I've turned those off in the list view, but they're still on in the graphics view. So I'm going to go to list view filters again, right mouse, view filters. Not show hidden. I'm going to unclick hidden. Accept. I'll group the profile that is the face cut, and I'll click hide unselected. And notice now that in the list view, only that one element is showing in the list view and in the graphics view. So if I go back and in the list view and turn hidden back on, except notice that in the list view, the elements are back there. You can see the little caret that indicates hidden. If we have masked elements, they will show with a little O in front of them. Okay, so I'm going to turn everything back on. I'm going to go to the list view filters to show masked, not show masked. Except then I'm going to mask all of the steps. Step, mask, all. And notice that in the list view, there are no step elements in the list view. What I'm showing you here is so you can see different scenarios of how you can, as the list view and the graphics view, just so you can see what works best for you. So now if I go back to the view filters and turn mask back on, you'll see in the list view, the steps are there. You see the little O in front of them indicating masked. So just a way for you to visualize the different methods of showing elements in the list view and the graphics view. Okay, I'll turn everything back on. And I'll unmask everything. And show hidden. Okay. Now I'm going to set a graphics view filter. Right mouse button, view filters. And I'm going to turn off wireframe and toolpath. And I'm going to go to show path. I'll turn draw elements and draw rapids. And what this will do is it will show you the toolpath as it's going through the database. So you can see the toolpath being displayed. At any point in here, I can hit the 0 button to stop the display, to pause, and then click on a speed and hit resume, and it'll start back up again. And hit F8, or excuse me, hit 0 and F8 and resume, and it picks back up where it was, but the F8 erased the toolpath up to that point. So I'm going to move on to named views. It used to be that, let me turn, I'm going to go back to list view, view filters, and turn toolpath and wireframe back on. Used to be that the named views was just for naming a view. What Hugh was talking about is 10 years ago, we've added this capability over on the right side of the panel where we can name and it will save the orientation and the view filters. In the orientation, we can see current view, full, or base. So it will save that. When you save a view, it'll save that if you have this turned on. And I had, say, current. If I name the view, it will save the settings here. So close that. I'm going to change the view to just the, I'm going to turn off wireframe and toolpath, accept, and I'm going to save this view as solid. Now I'm gonna run a macro that Doug wrote that names views for all the steps. So execute, show each step. Create standard views. Okay, so what that macro just did was it saved the views. It saved these views, toolpath and solid. So if I go to get view and preview, I can look and see what each of these views are. So in naming the views, it's show all. In naming the views, it will save the configuration of wireframe, solid, toolpath, whatever you set. Now, the icon that we just, or excuse me, the macro I just ran, if you want, you can attach that to your icon bar, and it'll be up on your icon bar every time you run SmartCAM, and so then you could just click on the icon and create these views every time. So I'll show you how to do that. Go up onto a blank area of the icon bar, you right click, go to button, add, and click on macro. This is where you would add an existing icon if you wanted, but if you click on macro and you click on macro file, file select, and it is in the common. Show each step, and so I hit open, and I'll call this, go step and accept. And there's the icon that we just added. So each time into SmartCAM, you could run that macro, and it would name the views as you just saw. So that is the presentation.
Thanks, Casey. Got a couple of questions here that for Casey to try to answer, I guess. And the first one is from DL, who says, I noticed when you brought mask steps back into view, they all turned back on at the same time. How exactly did you do that?
What I did was I wrote a very short macro that unmasks all steps and all layers, and then I attached that to a hotkey. I was just going through this demonstration a few days ago, and I thought it'd be a good deal if I could get back to everything turned on, all steps and all layers. So I just wrote a quick macro. I think I have it. I think I wrote it on this. So there's the macro right there. You can see mask step, all, and on, and then mask layer, all, and on. That's all the macro does, but that's how I did that.
DL had a little quick follow-up. He just typed in, can I get a copy of these macros?
Yes, we will make the macro that Doug wrote and the one I just showed you available. It'll be in the email you receive following up the webinar. Great.
Tom says, you use show path to check the tool path, paused it, and then removed the previously drawn path. When would that be beneficial to use exactly?
Well, if you wanted to focus in on one tool, or if you had imagine if your roughing pass was just a small step over, a small depth, and had all kinds of tool path in there. Okay, I just got a message that I was disconnected, so I don't know if I still am, but so if you had a lot of roughing passes that you wanted to see, you could stop the show path right after the roughing, hit the F8, and then start it back up again, and you're just going to see the finish passes.
All right, well, that'll do it for today's webinar. Thanks, Casey. You did a great job as always, and for attending. Like I mentioned on Monday, you'll get an email from Casey or me with the details on how to watch the recording that we made, and information on the survey, and of course, information on how to download those macros that Casey mentioned. So with that, have a great day, and we'll talk.